Somehow I missed doing a video on this, but this is big news. Well, in some ways. About 6 or so days ago, we crossed over the line to have over 6,000 games marked as verified or playable for the Steam Deck. At time of recording, it's about 6,206 with 3,783 marked as playable and 2,423 verified. Now those are some pretty good numbers, don't you think? For a bit of background here, I'm going to put up some footage of a game called Brigador. I absolutely love this. You can destroy everything. It's so cool. And while that's playing in the background, we're going to have a little bit of a chat for a minute. Now, depending on who you ask, the Steam Deck is a console. However, it's also a PC. It's pretty much both to me, and the interesting point here is that technically, it has more games in the verified and playable list than any other system, apart from Windows itself on a PC. Feel free to correct me on that, but finding exact numbers of released games for any system is surprisingly difficult. However, all the numbers I saw of any recent console, any semi-recent console, it was way higher. The interesting thing that happens is anytime videos and Reddit posts or elsewhere start talking about the deck verified system and the numbers, there's a fair amount of comments talking about how they don't care, it's pointless and so on, because some games that are in the list don't actually work correctly, or that some that are noted to be unsupported actually work fine. Now, these are fair points to be sure, and hopefully Valve will continue tweaking Deck Verified to make it better. Two easy examples for you, first being Paladins, that was left playable for months on end despite the anti-cheat breaking it, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 notes still today that it is verified, that is despite the inability to be able to play online as the anti-cheat has never worked. These types of issues just shouldn't happen. I 100% think that Valve need one or two people whose job it is just to go over the compatibility reports and rely a little bit less on automated checks, just so that things like this are correctly picked up. That said, it is also the only measure that we truly have for the Steam Deck, because it's simply not like anything else. Despite what I said earlier, it's not a console. It is firmly on the PC side of things, but unlike, say, Windows, or Linux specifically, or an actual games console, games are not made directly for the Steam Deck. So a few grumbles about deck verified accuracy aside, it is still a good measure to have, and in reality, the amount that are reported incorrectly is really a tiny percentage of the overall amount. Longevity of the Steam Deck is also an interesting topic while I have you here. Now this I actually touched on in a previous video, talking about whether it was already obsolete or not, because some people like to argue everything online, of course, and some journalists and YouTubers like to make fancy headlines and fancy video titles about the Steam Deck, and people like to claim it's underpowered and all sorts. I still personally think the Steam Deck is amazing value for what it is, and it will continue to be so for some time. Just look at all the recent releases working well, like Uncharted, which my video you should see pop up in the corner. That was really impressive on a performance level, both playable and enjoyable at release. I think people get stuck in this opinion that you absolutely have to play the latest AAA titles with all graphics maxed out at 4K, otherwise it's not fun. But what these types of people forget is that the vast majority of people gaming on PC are not using these top-of-the-line rigs. And to put it simply, not everyone is into that. Just look at the top titles constantly on the Steam Deck and how much fun people are having with emulation as well. Then you have the likes of AMD FSR, which AMD keep improving, and the latest FSR 2 gives a much better picture quality while giving you good performance. And I did showcase that quite well in the Dying Light 2 video that you should see pop up in the corner as well. If companies like AMD keep at it and keep improving FSR, things will only get better there again. And so when it comes to a point where games are coming out repeatedly that won't run, no doubt FSR will make them playable again. And so there we are. We are at over 6,000 playable or verified. And the footage, again, you've been seeing in the background here is Brigador. All links, as always, will be in the description. Question time for you, though. what are your thoughts on Deck Verified as a system right now? How are Valve doing with it? Let me know, and I'll see you later.